If you'd like to be able to listen to the show without ads and have full access to bonus content, that's an option. To find out how, please go to dogmanencounters.com/podcast. Hey everyone, thanks again so much for joining us for this live stream episode of Dogman Encounters Radio. I really appreciate you listening. Before we bring on tonight's guest, I wanted to put something out there for you. Cody from episode 534, if you'll remember, he came on and talked about his experiences with the dog woman, a female dog man named Sasha. Well, not long ago, he contacted me to bring me up to speed, to let me know that since we spoke last, he'd had several experiences with Sasha, and she's still coming around. And last night, we spoke for about 2 hours into the wee hours of the morning, and you won't believe what happened when he had this one particular encounter with her. I'm not going to get into any details about it, but I will let you know the good news is Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to air a special live stream where Cody's going to be back to update you, to let you know what's been going on. So we hope you're going to be able to make it. Again, that's Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, having said all of that, tonight's guest was featured on episode 528. And on that episode, he talked about a bad dogman encounter he had one late evening where, unfortunately, his dog Dallas, a white American Bulldog, gave his life saving his from this dogman that was about to kill him, at least in my opinion. It sure sounded like that dogman was about to kill Cam if Dallas, his dog, wouldn't have rushed to his aid. Well, since we spoke last, Cam had another encounter with that same dogman, unfortunately. Something I was hoping would never happen, but unfortunately it did. And when you listen to Cam share the details of this most recent experience, this most recent encounter, oh boy, unfortunately, it went just about as bad as it could have gone. So without any further ado, let's bring Cam in here now. Cam, thanks so much for coming back.
Thanks again for having me, man.
Well, you're welcome, but I just hate the fact that you're back here for the reason that you are. I mean, I was hoping you'd never have another experience, but it just didn't shape out to be that way, did it?
No, no. My luck, it's always been that way. If it can go wrong, it will go wrong as it can go. But it's I'm still here. I'm still alive. So I got another shot one day. So
Yeah, that's Murphy's Law. Are you further away from your phone now, Cam, than you were when we did the sound check? Because you don't sound as good as you did in the sound check.
No, I'm still here. It's cover. Is that any better?
Well, that's a little bit better. I think we can work with that.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for doing that, whatever you did. Well, for anyone who missed that episode 528, Cam, please tell them about yourself.
Man, my name is Cam. I'm 31 years old. I'm from North Central Mississippi. I've got 3 kids, married to my beautiful wife. Like I said, man, there's not too much about me that's out of the ordinary. See my friends when I can, work hard all week long, and come home and enjoy my family / hunting, fishing time on the weekends. Just another dude.
It really is a shame. You've carved out a good life for yourself. It's just so unfortunate that dogman's hanging around. I really wish that wasn't the case. Well, let's dive right into it, Cam. I'm sure there are some people listening who didn't listen to episode 528. And with that in mind, for them to understand what's going on with this most recent experience, they need to know about your backstory. So can you give us like a fairly brief explanation on what happened when you had that first encounter?
Yeah. I won't linger on it. It's, if y'all want to hear it, like I said, it's all in episode 528, but in a nutshell, there've been some problems on my grandparents' farm. Me and my friend Tyler went to thin out the coyotes, and we thought that was, thought that would fix the problem. And during all this, I had my dog with me. we run into the Dogman runs into us. We were, minding our business, and he kind of approaches us, and just he's scary. He approaches us, and Tyler took a shot at him because he felt threatened. So I shot him. Uh, he runs from us. We thought he was gone. We had both agreed that it was time to go. He flanked us. I guess he knew where my truck was, or saw us come in, or maybe while in the process of running away, he heard us coming back, and he flanked us. He knocked me off the four wheeler, knocked me out. And Tyler, again, I was out for this part, but Tyler says that he was on me, and that was pretty much in his mind it. I was fixing to die, and then here comes Dallas, who's my dog. Uh, he essentially tackles this thing off of me, and by the time I'm coming coming to, got my wits back about me, he was all but dead, and kind of make mad dash for this thing, and kills my dog, and you know I had luckily had somebody with me, and uh, Tyler, they picked up my rifle off the ground at some point, during all this, I guess, and emptied it on him, and he almost shot me. He really did. He almost shot me, but he saved my life. And the thing ran away, and I mean, we had to go and bury my dog that night. I had to tell my grandpa all about this, and woke him up. And it's like 1:00, 1:30 in the morning, and I mean, it was just that's really it. I went out looking for him, several times since then. Because man, he took my dog, who was like my best friend, and he took my peace of mind. He took my, I can't take my kids hunting out on this play. This is where I grew up, and yeah, he took a lot of things from me, man. But I'll get them back one day. My mind's all but made up. Somehow, some way, it's gonna happen. But here on Friday the 13th of all days was I talked to Vic. Guess it was last week. Told him about all this, but I'm sorry. You ready for me to talk about the next part? I just kind of jumped into it. I didn't want to ask.
No, you're fine. You're fine. By the way, Cam, are you using your earbuds now? Because in sound check, I didn't hear any chirping, but there's like a chirping artifact when you're talking now.
No. I think it's just my speakerphone. Um,
Might be what the phone's laying on, possibly.
yeah, I picked it up. I'm holding it. I'm not sure what's going on right now. Is that any better?
Yeah, that right there is.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is better. Well, before we have you tell us about this most recent experience, I just wanted to make sure you understand when we had that conversation, not too long after that, I made a post on my Facebook page. I just put it out there that I'd been putting a lot of thought into this most recent experience, and it was really frustrating for me because I saw it as a checkmate type of a situation. There weren't any good options for dealing with it. There might have been some options that some people thought were options, but they really weren't. I mean, sending people out there to try and hunt this dog, man, that's only going to aggravate it and just increase the possibility that it actually does harm someone there on your grandfather's property, or maybe even follows you to your own. So that's not an option. So, I mean, it was just really frustrating because there were no good options to try and solve that situation that you're in. So I put a lot of thought into that. I normally don't spend too much time laying in bed thinking about dogman encounters and everything, but yeah, that got some mileage on me. It definitely did. I just hate the fact you've got to deal with this. It's just so frustrating. It really is.
It is. Um, you know, but frustrating as it may be, it's a problem that has literally stared me in my face twice now, and yeah, dealing with it's really the only option that I have. However, it comes about, and I appreciate all your help. All the words and the asking around and all that. And I'm not going to send a bunch of people out there, hire a team to come out to my place. I'm not going to put anybody else's life in danger just to clear the air. That's not what I'm going to do. It's not my goal.
Good man. I'm glad you're not going to do that. We spoke before we came on the air, and I let Cam know that there is a gentleman named Bear Helper who's going to hopefully help him resolve this situation. He says he's had a lot of experience dealing with this kind of a situation before with other people. So hopefully that is going to work out. I really hope it will, but I guess time will tell on that. Well, Cam, without any further ado, whenever you're ready, please take your time and tell us about this most recent experience.
Sure. So I'm not superstitious, so the whole Friday the 13th thing just happened to fall on a Friday that was the 13th. We normally cut out from work. I work with Tyler. Y'all listen, now y'all know who Tyler is. He's the reason I'm able to tell y'all this story. But me and Tyler work together all day, every day. I'm not with the company I was with before, so I get to see and hang out with and argue with Tyler all day long. But we got off work, or I got off work. Tyler was supposed to go with me to my grandparents' place. We were going to spread corn, check cameras, usual. And his dad called him and said, "Hey, I need you to go to this lady's house. There's something we have to do." And he felt bad. He's like, "Man, you gonna be all right?" Like, yeah, I'll be fine. Don't worry about it. So my kids hadn't seen my grandparents in a while. So I called my wife, who was off. The doctor she works for is off on Friday, so she has the ability to work from home. And all my girls were home, so I called her. I said, "Hey, it's been a while since girls have seen Grandma and Grandpa. If y'all would like to meet me out there, I'll meet you there." And she's kind of hesitant because she's aware of things, but brought them out there. And I stopped at Farm Ranch on the way. I got my corn. Uh, Meet them there. Walked them into the house, the carport, and excuse me. Grandpa said, he said hey to everybody, and he said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm fixing to go and spread all this corn, do all this." And he was like, "No, you ain't going by yourself. I'm going with you." I was like, "No, no, you need to stay up here at the house with the girls. They A, want to see you, and B, I'd like for you to be here. So I went and grabbed the 4-wheeler and brought it back down, got the corn out of my truck, went and spread a bag, checked my camera, saw some good deer, a couple coyotes and stuff, ironically. Um, Went, spread the next bag, checked the next camera, and I saw this great big bruiser buck that I've been hunting for like 2 years now. And I thought he was shot last year, so I got excited. All right, let me hurry up and get this other corn. So I bet money he's over here in this bottom on this camera too. Well, and in the first 2 cameras and the first bit of corn I spread, that was in the exact same spot where me and Tyler had that run in with this thing the first time. So I go and I get my last 100 pounds and make my way down into that bottom where it's normally where the big deer are anyway. And I spread it, check cameras, and sure enough, he's there. Again, I'm so excited. I mean, it's the only reason I'm even out there now. And I started looking around, and I was like, man, from where he's breaking through the trees, I need to move this. I've got a climber stand. For those of y'all that know what a climber stand is, it's a 2-piece deer stand that has teeth on the back of it that you dig into the tree, and you essentially inchworm your way up a tree. So you're as high up as you want to go, or as big as the accommodations for the tree stand will take for the tree. I was like, man, I need to move that thing. So I got thinking, I got to looking and being picky and choosy like I am. It took me a few minutes, and I figured out where I wanted it. I put it on a tree. It was a bigger tree than it was on, so I had to set it. It took me a second. And I get this thing set up on the tree, and I was like, and I haven't used it. It's been sitting out since last year. I was like, I need to climb up and make sure I'm not going to fall or have it break or something opening morning, be my luck. So I climb up to what I feel is, probably 25 feet. Man, up above 20 feet, it's much harder for, even something with a nose like a white-tailed deer. It's extremely hard for them to wind you from that high up. Unless everything's just incredibly not in your favor and you let your wife wash your hunting clothes the night before. But I climb up. I feel like it was probably 25 feet. And man, it felt really good that day. The wind was blowing, you know, everything's still green. There's nothing dead out there right now. Like all the green's still on the trees, but man, the breeze was kicking, felt good. And you know, I'm chunky. I'm not in the shape that I used to be. I'm much heavier than I was, so I was out of breath by the time I make it that tall or that high. And I sit there for a minute, and I'm, you know, everything. I'm taking it in, man. It's beautiful. It feels great. Nice change of pace from that hot, sticky Mississippi air we have. And I see something out of my peripheral. I turn and I look, and it's him. He's there. Just all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there he is. And you know, the shock factor is like at 11. You know, it's I had seen this thing, hadn't heard him, hide, no hair, nowhere have I seen this thing. And then, like I said, I went out several times after, you know, me and Tyler had this run in with him, hoping I could see him and I could, you know, shoot him. I mean, kill my dog, you know. And but man, here he is, and it was all, you know, broad daylight, broad daylight. I mean, me and him, man, we were, God, 10 feet probably from each other that night. But by the time everything was said and done, when Tyler shot him, that dude, he probably could have reached out if he wanted to, because his arms are long, unnaturally, just weirdly long. And man, seeing him in broad daylight, it's like I don't feel so stupid now for thinking that he looked like a hyena. Broad daylight, he is exactly the way I remember. Looked to be slightly smaller, like slim, not smaller in stature, but slimmer for whatever reason. Um, and it is, I mean, I kind of resigned myself to, okay, I'm never going to see him again. I'll never have a shot to get him. It'll never happen. He got my dog. He robbed me of the ability to bring my children out here and safely have them come and do something that I enjoy and I want them to enjoy. You know, I felt like I was going to have to eat that, you know, and find somewhere else to take my kids. But here he is, man. And I mean, it was, you know, just wow. You know, the shock, the awe, but regardless, man, I hadn't seen it. It hadn't been a half second. And I pulled my pistol out, and he was, I don't know, man. He was probably 70 yards too far. And I tell you, he's very fortunate. I didn't have my 3.0. I shot him right in the head. He did not see me. That was like the first thing I noticed after. Oh my God, there he is. That's him right there. He didn't see me, and the wind was at my face. So I was like, all right, he has not seen me. He has not smelled me. And you know, I wanted to pull my phone out and call my wife. I wanted to tell her like, hey, I love you. I don't know if I'll see you again. I don't, you know, or call my grandpa and tell him, hey, you know, make sure the girls stay in the house. You need to call the game. You know, all these things go through your head, and
Oh man.
it's just, you know, it's there's a lot at one time. But regardless, I know he hasn't seen me, and it was weird because it's just strange, man. The last time we saw each other, he came and found us. So it's just kind of weird to have him just absentmindedly walking, you know, kind of. I mean, if he'd have kept going and not got distracted, he would have seen me. I feel like at some point he definitely would have seen me. But man, it just there he is. I can't get over the, you know, it's hard to say. It's hard. There's not a lot of words for seeing that. You know, I mean, it at night it seems like a nightmare. Everything's dark and shadowy and all this. But I'm talking broad day. I mean, I might as well have been watching the neighbor's dog walk down this pine tree thicket. But anyway, man, he's paralleling this thing, and he's in between what used to be a creek bed and this pine tree thicket. And this pine tree thicket is where all these big deer come from. So it makes, and you know what I'm about to tell you, it all kind of makes sense. But man, I turn and look and I see something else, and for about a half second, I was like, oh my God, there's another one. Well, it was, and it was a doe. It was this doe walking down in this creek bed. And if the wind hadn't been in my face, she would have winded him and she would have never gotten close to him. But man, she comes up out of this creek bed and they're like 15 to 20 feet, maybe 25-ish feet. He sees her and man, he makes a pass for her. Full fledged lunges at her. And it was kind of awkward looking. Like it was like his movement was awkward looking because dude, he was striding coming down that, you know, if I didn't have such hatred for this thing, it would almost be, it's weird to even say this, that it would almost be beautiful. You know, like not, I mean, obviously he's not beautiful. But this is, I mean, he's massive, dude. He's like 8 feet tall. He's between 7 and 8 feet tall. It's a monster, like a living, breathing, walking monster. And he makes the pass for this doe, and she dipped on him. She pump faked him and was gone, and he did not chase her. Did not chase her, which was weird. But I realized that the whole time he had been walking down this, that he'd been paralleling this tree, this thicket. He was limping. He has a limp to him. And I told Vic this, I can't confirm this. I'm not sure of this, but I feel like Tyler blasted him, maybe broke his arm or something when he took one. I mean, the dude up until this point, he has 8 rifle rounds in him. Right now, unless they all went through and came out the other side, that dude has like 7 308 rounds, and that round that Tyler hit him with out of his 243. I mean, he's got multiple high power rifle rounds in him, so it would make sense to me that's where his limp came from. Because I mean, you don't really see deer limping because they just hurt themselves walking around in the woods. I wouldn't think that this thing would be any different, being an apex predator. But man, right about second or two goes by, and he's missed the steer, and man, he just kind of shook and looked frustrated, like a dog. And I realized really, really quick that the wind is at my back, and he is almost dead in front of me. And as soon it must have been at my back for a minute before I actually realized it, because as soon as I realized, oh God, he looks up, and he didn't look directly at me, but it didn't take him but a half second, and we are all over again, just like last December, staring each other in the face. And it's you will never feel safe in that situation. I don't care if they had him at the zoo. I don't care. Staring at one, you will not feel safe. Depending on who you are, you may or may not feel genuine fear, but safe is one thing you will never feel, dude. And but I guess what I'm getting at is last time I saw this thing, it was me, my friend, a big dog. Me and Tyler are both armed to the teeth, really, and that's what got us out alive. But this time he sees me. I have a pistol, just me. There's nobody, nothing. That's it. And it's like I mean, I pretty much, like I had before that, resigned myself to, hey, I'm not going to see this thing again. I'm not going to have a chance to get him back for taking my Bubba from me. Right then I had resigned myself to, well, I guess this is it. He's going to die. I'm going to die. We're both going to die. I mean, I don't, and, man, a whole bunch of things go through your head, but that was a certain, or, I certainly thought it was a certainty that one or both of us was going to be dead before one of us left, if anybody left. But I thought for a second, I was like, man, he's gonna have to make it to the tree, and he's gonna have to climb up from under me. And I wasn't like I was messing with some big long cumbersome rifle. I had my pistol. I was like, man, if he does that, I can shoot him right in the face. He's gonna be right here directly underneath me, and I can hit him head, neck, chest, whatever, anything I can to try to, and it's all these things, all these thoughts, all this, it happens so quick, and somehow you process it. I guess it's your primal response to an adrenaline rush. I don't know, but man, right there out loud to myself, I was like, "Girls, I love y'all. God, I love y'all so much." And I just thought, I was like, "Man, I'm never gonna see him again. I won't be able to say bye, nothing." And I kind of got mad again, like I was, when he had taken my dog, man, and I screamed at it or roared at it, whatever. If somebody had been standing there looking at me, I'd have probably looked like an idiot, like Tarzan or something, screaming from a tree. But you know, that's what came out. I didn't plan it, didn't think about it. It just kind of happened, and it got the message across to him that I'm here. I'm not afraid of you, and if you want to kill me, you've got to do, brother, because I'm not going anywhere. And man, he looked at me and he showed me his teeth, and he returned the favor. And when I tell you, it was the loudest thing I've ever heard in my life. I used to go to the Pyramid when I was little. I don't know if y'all know where the Pyramid in Memphis is. It's a massive Bass Pro Shop now, but I used to go and watch monster trucks at the Pyramid. And that was like the loudest thing I'd ever heard. It was unnecessarily loud to have those things inside. But at that point in my life, up until that point in my life, that was probably the loudest thing I've ever heard. But man, you talking about it hurts your eardrum. So loud and so close to me. And man, you know, I just I don't care. I'm not afraid. I'm not gonna back down. And maybe he didn't get enough of a fear response for me or from me, and he was gonna try to elicit, some more fear from me or something. Because people say these things can smell your fear and they feed on your. I don't know how true that is or isn't, but man, it just threw me for the. I mean, just threw me for a loop. He starts to walk towards me. He didn't charge me. He didn't rush me. He didn't act like he needed to hurry up and get to me. He took steps, deliberate steps, like he was going to walk to the tree where I was, and I was going to allow him to do so. Dude, I shot 8 times, and I don't think I hit him but twice. But it stopped him dead in his track. Anyway, I'll get to what I was going to say. So he stops, reaches with his, and I'm going to say it again. I'll never get tired of saying it because it's always going to be some kind of weird to say it. With his hand, not paw, hand, reaches over and grabs his rib cage and kind of, he winces. And he touches another spot with his other hand, but he had deliberately reached all the way across his body and grabbed where I'm positive I hit him. And he looks up at me, and it's hard to explain how it works because it's not. So he looks at me, right? And if anybody listened, if anybody remembers, when that night when he was holding Dallas, after Dallas had got him off of him, he was holding Dallas in his hands, damn near dead. Sorry, pardon my language, but he looks at me at that, while we're standing there, he looks at me and it was like he was saying, there were no words. I didn't hear a voice in my head. It was like he projected this challenge to me. Come here, boy. Like calling me boy, like tiny human, whatever it was, however he meant it. But it was this, I got that message the same way this time, except it was, I'll get you like next time, or, what, however he meant it. But maybe that's what people mean when they say they communicate telepathically, or they can, whatever people say, because I got that loud and clear, and there were obviously no words. And like I said, I didn't hear a voice in my head, but he did his best to let me know, to portray to me right there that I'll get you. At some point it's going down, however you want to phrase it. And he turns and he runs again. And for the second time, I'm watching this thing that killed my dog turn and run and get away. Scott, yeah, he caught a bullet or two, but he's obviously, fine. But he dropped down, backed off for it because when he saw me, he stood up. Sorry, didn't mean to leave that out. I figured it was kind of unspoken, but he saw me, he stood up, takes steps. I shoot, everything goes by, and he turns around and drops down and runs. Well, I've been here before, been there, done that, got the postcard, all that. I've seen him run away and feign and escape before. So I don't move. I didn't get down or anything. I screamed for him for a second, and he didn't come back. So eventually I pull my phone out and I call my grandpa and I tell him, I say, hey, look, I just ran into, because he calls him the wolf. I said, hey, I just ran into the wolf. I'm okay. I shot him. He's gone out of sight. I can't see him. I can't hear him, but I know that this is what happened last night. Anyway, told grandpa, I said, get the girls, put him, he's got a stormproof room in his house. So get the girls, get everybody in the tornado room right now. And honestly, now I didn't have any real reason to do that. It was just, I'm sorry, the helicopter dad and me, one of my girls in a steel room, made me feel a lot better. And grandpa was like, well, I'm getting the truck. I'm coming to you. I was like, no. You're the only thing up there between them and this thing right now. And he never probably had any aim of going up there to the house. He may not even know that house is there. I don't know. But I told grandma, I was like, no, don't do that. So anyway, I start to, after a couple minutes, I start to make my way down. Grandpa calls me again. He tells me, he said, hey, they're up. What do you want me to do? I was like, I'm coming. Stay there. And, man, I make it to probably 10 feet. I stop. And I look and I hollered again, and I can't say what I said, but I said, "You so and so, I'm still here. Come here, come back, come here." And they wouldn't come here. So I was like, "Oh, I guess he's gone." I jumped from probably 5 or 6 feet. I didn't even go the last few feet to the ground. I jumped, and man, I run to the four wheeler, and I'm gone. I'm out of there. But like I said, I know for a fact that he will absolutely, or he did before. Like I said, been there and done that. He may have been waiting to flank me, or may have run somewhere out of sight to where he'd cut and get an angle on me and go somewhere else. I mean, I don't know what he was going to do. So I struck out over the hill, back down into the pasture where Tyler and I originally had the run in with him. And I'm screaming for him the whole time, like, "Here I am, come get me," all this stuff. And never saw him again. Didn't see him, didn't hear him. I don't know, maybe 5 minutes goes by, maybe. From the time I hit the ground out of the stand till I was on the four wheeler moving, and I was like, "All right, I gotta go. I gotta go. He's gone." So man, I book it back to the house, and man, I get there, and my wife is hysterical. And when I say hysterical, I mean you should never let your kids know that something is wrong, right? As if there's any parents listening right now, you got to keep it chill for your kids. They never need to know anything is wrong, ever. Man, my kids are scared to death, right? Well, my kids are 12, 4, and almost 2. My 12-year-old is a gangster among gangsters. I'm so proud of that kid. I can't even tell you. I walked in. My grandmama has her break barrel single shot 410 looking out the windows. My grandpa has a big, big Desert Eagle pistol that he is walking around brandishing. And, of course, my kids don't know what's wrong, but something's wrong. They're kids. They're not stupid. They're just young. Obviously, something's wrong. Mommy's screaming and crying for a reason. So I take her and I say, "Hey, go in that room. I'm going to come talk." Well, I tell my oldest, I tell Kay, I said, "Baby, watch your sister. Mama's okay. She was just scared Daddy got hurt. I'm fine. Everything's okay." And she looked at me and she said, "I got this." I was like, "Oh, you damn right you do, child. Damn right you do." But I get Katie calmed down, and man, it was anyway. We decide, or I say she decides right then, we're leaving. We're going. We're not coming back. We're this, that, and the other. And I was like, "Look, I just need you to sit in here with Grandmama for a minute." And excuse me, um, you know, I gotta talk to Grandpa. So I told him, "Grandpa, man, I love you. I can't stand the thought of something happening to you. Y'all gotta find somewhere to go. You can't stay here. It's not safe." And boy, when I tell you that conversation went just about how I should have known it was gonna go. Uh, my grandpa looks like John Wayne. He acts like John Wayne as well, and it's kind of he wasn't happy with what I said, and he, in response, he was like, I can't say everything he said, but he said, he said, hell, so where do you want me to go? What I look like abandoned in this place that I've worked my butt off all these years to pay for and to own so that one day it can be in your family and I can give it to you. He said, "Let me ask you something. Are you going to say everything?" He said, "Are you going to let that thing keep you from coming out here and doing what you love to do?" And I was like, "Hell no." And he was like, "Okay, well, how do you think you can justify asking me?" So anyway, left that alone. And, he's a grown man. And he ain't scared of nothing, man. And he ain't going to be made to leave. He's not going to, he'll stay there and fight that thing if he has to. And honestly, he ain't even seen him. He hadn't seen him. He hadn't had run in with him. He hadn't done anything. But that's how that went. And, yeah. So it wasn't, I say it ended. It didn't end, didn't end at all. I guess it was over for the time being, but that's essentially what happened with it this time around. That was the extent of it. Nobody was hurt, except him. And I'm still alive. Obviously, I'm here. I will tell you guys about it. But I've done just a lot of thinking, a lot of planning, scheming, whatever you want to call it, about what I'm going to do to handle this situation. And I've got a couple viable options, but that's what I'm dealing with in the here and now. Vic's lent me his listening ear, and his advice, best advice he can offer. You know, and once again, giving me a platform to come and talk to some people who believe me and wouldn't make fun of me. You know, so there's that.
Well, as you know, I'm all too glad to do that. And like I told you, I don't have nightmares about dog men. I normally will help eyewitnesses. Some days it gets just absolutely ridiculous how many eyewitnesses need help. But at the end of the day, it's like a switch. When I'm done helping them, then I just move on. I do whatever to try and unwind. If there's time to maybe hit the woods and go for a nice walk, then I will. But I don't carry that with me. But man, after hearing about this most recent experience, I did carry that with me quite a bit for some time. And like I said, it was just so frustrating. It seemed like a no-win situation that there weren't any good options for. And that was me. This didn't happen to me. I can only imagine on your end how difficult this has been. Those are your kids. That's your wife. That's your grandfather. I can only imagine how this has hit you, how difficult this has been.
Yeah, I mean, man, it's it's uh, it's frustrating. The uncertainty, um, and just I guess the helplessness. Because I mean, I myself, I'm not, I'm not helpless, but I am in certain ways. Like my grandpa's not going to leave. There's no, you know what I mean. There's absolutely no, you know, there's no convincing him. There's no changing his mind. There's no, you know, and so also, I guess that's not it. So as of speaking of my grandfather, as of what's today, Friday, as of Wednesday morning, his dogs are both dead. Both of them are dead in his yard. Bloody as all get out. When you go past his house, and he, those. I mean, those are only two dogs he got. He's got three dogs. One of them's old. She don't even go outside. And she's not long for the world. She's on her way out. But Jack and Ruby have been running that property, since they got it. They're because 4 or 5 years old or so. And Jack and Ruby turned up dead Wednesday morning. You go past their house, their driveway runs all the way to the back of the property past their house. And at the house, it stops, it goes into their carport, but it turns into their yard. And there's like a trail it would have been the driveway. It was way back, before we owned the property, I guess. But right there at the trailhead where it goes from yard to narrowing down to just a trail that goes back to where Dallas and my other dog are buried. They were both laid out right there, just chewed all to pieces, man. So now, not only is it going to be impossible for me to change my grandpa's mind, he's going to be on the warpath. He's going to go out of his, and that's the helplessness that I'm talking about. He's going to go out of his way to do everything that he can to kill, hurt, maim, whatever he can, this thing, this monster, this Dogman. I mean, there's nothing that I can do for as far as telling him like, Grandpa, just leave it alone. Because I mean, and what kind of hypocrite would I be? I've gone looking at it. I've gone looking for him since he took my dog from me. And my grandpa is a hard-hearted man. But dude, his dogs and his grandchildren, and now his great grandchildren, are the only things he's ever been soft for in his life. And man, those were house dogs. They get let out during the day to run some, but man, those are lap dogs. For them, Jack was a 4-ish-year-old blue heeler, and Ruby, I don't even know what kind of dog she was, but she was. I mean, she was the light of their life. They love those dogs, and now they're gone. And I don't know if you know, I I don't know, man. That it makes sense to me that he would have done it. But there's a lot of coyotes too. I mean, they've been running around in the woods with coyotes for years now, and nothing's happened to them. And it just kind of, I don't know. But he seems to think that it was the wolf, man. I don't know, and I don't know what to tell him. I don't know. I just I told him, like, let me just hang back and let me handle it. I'm gonna figure out a way to handle this. I'm gonna devise a way to get him. He's not gonna get away with everything that he's done. It's there's gonna be some kind of consequences for him, and he's not having it. No, it's not enough for him. He's he's about like I was when it killed my dog. Except he's a he's a salty, gritty old man. I don't know.
Wow, I'm so sorry to hear that happened. That's horrible. I hope he doesn't wind up getting himself killed. Now he's so upset about that dog man killing his dogs, and I bet good money it was that dog man that did that. I wouldn't be surprised in the least if it was that dog man. In fact, like I said, I bet good money on it.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I want to put this out there. Both David Daniels and Bang Bang, thank you so much for your donations. I really appreciate it. I do. Before I start throwing some other questions at you, Kim, in our most recent conversation, you told me, and I didn't know until then, you told me that you live pretty close to an area that's very well known for dogman activity. Please talk us through that.
I do. Um, so I'm not I'm not sure of the origin of the story or whatever, but excuse me. If you've ever heard of the Dogman siege of Lockett Ranch, those are real people. You can look them up. Don't know about the story. It's not. I just don't know.
It
But
didn't happen.
it didn't.
No,
It's a great story, but I didn't know what happened. I'm sorry.
that's all it is. It's a story. Not to interrupt you, but when you talk with people, with eyewitnesses, bona fide dogman eyewitnesses from that area of Taylor, Mississippi, and they never heard about that happening. Their family members never heard a whisper about that ever happening. Their friends who, like them and their family, grew up in that area, and their uncles and grandfather and great grandfather, everyone grew up in that area. No one ever said a word about that supposed siege ever happening. That's all it is. It's just a story. But anyway, not to interrupt. I'm sorry. I apologize. Please continue.
No, you're good. I legitimately didn't know the legitimacy of that, but it's supposedly it's Taylor, Mississippi. I don't live far from it at all, and me and Tyler just built a house there. Me and him and his dad and another dude or two, and this I don't know if this was something I told you the other day or not, but there's a can't remember her name, but me and my wife went out not long ago with a couple of her friends who she hadn't seen in a while. There was a woman there at the bar we were at, and I ended up having a conversation with, and she is from Taylor, and she told me she didn't know what it was, but Vic, I guarantee you'll know what it was when I start talking about it. This woman said that she was outside on her back porch smoking a cigarette or doing something, and big big huge tree starts like shaking right out behind her house, like scared her to death. And she said, I went inside because I thought I heard like a monkey or something. And she looked at me like, please don't think I'm crazy. And I'm like, woman, I promise I'm not going to call you crazy. If I were to tell you my accounts of what I've seen or been through or whatever, you'd probably call me crazy. But she continues on and tells me, yeah, this went on forever. Like I went inside and drank coffee to keep myself awake and all this, that, and the other. But again, this is in Taylor. It's in Taylor. Well, there was some other radio show I listened to where this guy claims to have been working at a like a power substation off of Old Taylor Road at sundown, and seen like a pack of these things or something. Again, I don't know. I don't know this guy's real name. I don't know if this really happened. I don't know. But Taylor has been, and probably always will be a spot where, I mean, just countless, accounts and sightings and all this stuff has happened. But no, I don't live very far from it all. I've got my good buddy Alan lives like 5 minutes from there. You know, he's I don't, and he had a Bigfoot encounter in Abbeville. Him and another dude that I went to school with. They've told me, they told me about this. I mean, it's weird things everywhere, man. And it just, why did it have to be on my place? Why did it have to be? I mean, I don't mean to sound like one of those why me people, because I'm gonna find a way to deal with it. Don't worry. But it's just, yeah. No, Taylor's real close, and apparently they're way far out from Taylor too, because I'm 10, 15 minutes from it probably. But we just built a house there for these pretty wealthy people, and took everything in me to ask them, like, man, you ain't seen anything weird like out behind your house or anything, have you? You know, yeah, no, yeah, Taylor's a hot spot, always has been, probably always will be. But that and Holly Springs National Forest too. I see.
Yeah, you're surrounded by hot spots, unfortunately. It's a shame it has to be that way, but yeah, that's how it is. Let's get to some questions now from the listeners in the chat. The first one up is from Peppercat, and she wants to know, hi, Vic and Cam, can you share details about how the teeth it showed you look like? Sorry about your experiences with Dogman.
Yeah, thank you, appreciate it. No, I mean they're big. They're not. Some people, and again, I'm not speaking for anybody else because I can only speak for myself, my firsthand experience. But man, if you took, let me use my dog for example. Dallas was a big dog, man, and his teeth were. It's hard to say an inch measurement. I never once measured them, but they were big enough. He'd have bit your hand. He'd have shattered your hand, dude. These dogs. I mean, these dogs. This dude's teeth are like 2.5, possibly 3 times the size of. I mean, it head's big. It's not like cartoonishly big, like people make it out to be. Like some people. Again, maybe somebody has seen one that looked like that. I don't know, but he's pretty proportionate, and his teeth follow suit. I mean, they weren't nasty, dingy yellow teeth. I mean, he's got a mouth full of pearly whites. That's so. Imagine his breath doesn't smell too good. But his teeth don't look like he needs to go to the dentist. I imagine he can get the job done with him if they ever felt like it.
Yeah, they normally do get the job done with them, unfortunately. The next one is from Tim Webb, and Tim wants to know, what was the first feature you noticed on the Dogman, Cam?
His posture. His posture, man. Like that, I don't know if you heard the ordeal that went down this last December that gave me the platform to do a bit with. But man, it was, you know, I swear to you, I swear. And these past couple weeks ago, man, it was the same. Like I really, I felt like I know I don't sound so stupid, even to myself, for thinking he looked like a hyena, like on all fours. Anyway, he looks like a hyena, not like his posture resembles a hyena. His back legs are way more tucked up under him. And his front, I got to get out of the habit of trying to say front legs. He has arms, does not have front legs, but they're long. They're really really long. I mean, like in comparison, his front legs are like, you ever seen somebody with one of those really ugly squatted trucks where the back end, the bumper's almost dragging the ground, and the front end you can't see over the hood? His front arms, I mean his arms are that much longer than his legs are in the rear. Or at least from that posture. It's really weird looking, man. It's strange, but you know, but in broad daylight, man, I don't think there was really anything about him that I didn't get just crazy good look at. I mean, it was dark the first time. And what really stuck out to me the first time were his ears. They were really forward facing. They don't have these tufts of hair on the end like lots of people say. But his eyes, man, they have their own the like bioluminescent. That's not the word. They're luminous themselves. Like they have a glow themselves. There was no moonlight to shine his, like for his eyes to shine, and we weren't shining a flashlight at him. His eyes have a glow in and of, or maybe all of them, I guess, have a glow in and of themselves, and it's yellow. Like yellow as yellow can be. Like some people call it amber. That's pretty close, I guess. But I mean, and I mean it's creepy looking. But dude, in broad daylight, you figured he's not all matted up. They look like he just went to the groomer. But you think about like if you shoot a deer, they live outside all day long, all year round. They're never inside, but they look kind of normal. Like they look like a dog would. I mean, he wasn't all matted and mangy looking, or excuse me, wasn't all matted or mangy looking or anything like that. But I mean, I don't know, man. It's really hard to just outright describe looking at one of these things. It's not normal. You're not supposed to have to think about something like that. But no, man. Overall, I'd say in the first few seconds of laying eyes on him in broad freaking daylight, his posture was what got me first, and I realized exactly why I thought he was what he was when I first saw him in the dark that night.
Yeah, like I've told you before, life is so complicated and difficult. It really is a shame you have to deal with these experiences. It's just not fair. It's not. This next question is from Moniqua, and Moniqua wants to know, Kim, do you have any fear I would wee myself?
Well, I mean, it depends on what you mean by fear. Like, am I afraid of him? No, I'm not. No, it was frightening. No joke. All you know, whatever aside. The first time I laid eyes on him, yeah, there was like a shock, fear factor for a minute or so. But overall, man, like I don't, you'd be surprised at the things that I'm scared of. And I mean, it'd be something you'd probably laugh at me for. Like I'm scared of heights. Like I was when I rearranged my climber stand and I climbed up I had to be 25 feet. So they say at 30 feet, a whitetail even is, they just can't wind you. They can't get your scent, so I didn't want to go that high. I didn't want to go as high as I was, but I needed to get as close to that 30-foot mark as I felt like I could. And even then, I may have been shy of it anyway. I didn't have the measuring stick, but I was more nervous about being up that high than I was, because when I saw him, all your adrenaline spikes. I don't care who you are, I don't care how composed you are, your adrenaline spikes, your hearing dulls itself, and everything else kind of slows down a little bit. Like I guess it's your body's response to, or your instincts or whatever, your response to an outside threat. But no, what I'm afraid of, what I'm terrified of, other than heights and getting a shot, I'm afraid of needles as well. Y'all have a laugh at me if you want to. But I'm afraid of my kids being living in the world where those things are. I'm a helicopter dad. Like I'm my kids, but man, by the time they're old enough to move out of the house, I'm like, Dad, leave me alone. I don't care. They're gonna be safe. But I try to work on letting them have a little bit more freedom, or whatever. But now, man, they definitely can't go outside by themselves. I've never once seen this thing at my house. I live, probably, I live 40 minutes from my grandparents' property. Like my house, where I live, where I reside with my family, it's probably 40 minutes from me. But I still, as being the helicopter dad that I am, and not having a dog like Dallas anymore, I don't have a big male dog to protect my kids anymore. My dogs would do it, but it's just not the same sense of security, that I used to get. But I'm terrified of my kids being outside with something like that out there. Like that scares me to the point of like, I don't even know. Like I don't have words for that. That's terrifying to me. That's terror. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm plenty scared. I'm not going to say that I'm not scared of anything at all, because yeah, I'm scared of that. I don't fear any man, and seeing that thing, I say I'm used to it. Never used to it, but no, I'm not afraid of him. I I'm not king of the earth either, but he better have as much of a healthy fear of me as I could have of him. Because I mean, I don't. No, I'm scared of plenty. I do have fear, no doubt. Yeah, I have fear.
It's only natural that you would. Yeah, you are human after all. One of the reasons why this has been so difficult for me is just one of the reasons is the fact that was something you just mentioned, your kids. I mean, kids are going to be kids. You can only throttle them back so much. They're going to be kids. And I mean, in our conversations, I've been trying to impress upon you how dire of a situation this is. You asked about if you moved, what are the odds that it might follow you? Well, like we talked about in that last conversation, yeah, there is every possibility that that thing knows where you live. It followed you home from your grandfather's house. No guarantee that's the case, but there's a strong possibility that that is reality. Well, if it does know where you live, then one of the frustrating aspects of all this is you could move 100 miles away and it might show up one day. I don't know how they do that, but I mean, that happens with these things. So it goes right back to the whole fact that there are no easy solutions for this. It's just really frustrating. It really is. It's frustrating for me. So, like I said, I can only imagine how frustrating it's got to be for a dad. You trying to wrap your mind around all this and to try and resolve it. It's just bad.
Yeah, it was just me, you know. It was if I didn't have kids, if I wasn't married, I mean, it is what it is. I'm not gonna let it control me. I'm not gonna. I'll never not go to my grandparents' house. I mean, they're it's my grandparents, and that's my play. I don't care. I think I said this before, but I don't care how long that thing's been around. I don't. It doesn't matter to me one bit. That's mine. That belongs to me and my family. And that's I myself will be okay. But I just want my kids to be okay.
Yeah, I hope that's the case. I hope you will be okay. There is no guarantee on that, unfortunately, because as sneaky as these things are, as fast as they are, if it really wants to come get you, if you go into that area, put yourself in its presence, then yeah, it's in total control of that. I don't care if you're armed or what. It's just a bitter truth of this. The next question is from Mark Muzamechi, and he wants to know any chance of upgrading the four-wheeler to something with walls.
The 4-wheeler was upgraded. So the one what what grandpa and it's my grandfather's 4. This isn't mine that this happened with, but uh, so up until this past December, he had a Honda a Foreman 500, the fuel injected one, the 4-wheel drive, yeah, perfect farm 4-wheeler. Uh, Terribly fast. It might run 45, 50 miles an hour or something like that. But and since then, Grandpa has upgraded to a Can-Am Renegade 1000R, which what possessed him to do that, I have no idea. But I will tell you that while I was out and about, right after before I made my move to go back to the house this last time around, dude, I was rip roaring, snorting that thing, and screaming for that dude. He'd uh he'd have had a time catching me if he'd have showed himself again. He'd have had a time catching me on that thing because it was I mean, my grandpa is 70, 76, 77 now, and I mean, I just I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure he bought it because he knows I want to pull my duck hunting with it and stuff. I mean, it's just bad to the bone. It's great 4-wheeler, but he's never been a side by side guy. He's never really been one of the I guess I don't know if it's something to do with it being enclosed or what, but no. If I don't know if I get something myself, yeah, I might get something that's enclosed. It's just safer for the kid, even if we're not talking about you know this. It's just safer for kids to have something over their head. Say something crazy happens and you roll or whatever. So yeah, for me, I guess that's a possibility. No, Grandpa, he spent his money. He's tighter in the duck's butt. He ain't gonna spend money on anything else.
Well, keep in mind too, if you're riding around out there and something that's got walls, that's just to make you feel better. If it wants to get you, it doesn't matter if you're in a side by side with glass doors. It can still get you if it wants to. So I'm glad you know to keep your head on a swivel, because anytime if it does decide that it really has it in for you and wants to get you, then yeah, that's when all the problems really start, unfortunately. This next question for you is from Catherine Cohen, and she wants to know, do you have a plan in place if this dog man breaches your home?
Actually, yeah, I do. Well, I mean, as much of a plan as you could have. I mean, it really would depend. Am I home in the middle of the night? And this things. I mean, I've got dogs that won't get in my house without me knowing. Um, but man, my doors and windows stay locked. So I mean, other than forced entry, there's no way it's going to get in. Which of course, not you know, not naive. If he wanted to force entry, he certainly could. Um, but yeah, man, I've got a 12 gauge with a bunch of slugs, a 308 loaded up with all 5 rounds, and a Smith and Wesson 40 caliber pistol that has been old trusty by my side and has stopped him once. Um, Whether he just decided, okay, ow, that hurt, I'm gonna leave, or that thing's a danger to my life. I don't know. I'm not in his head. But yeah, no, my wife is really good with a gun. I'm really good with a gun, and all but our oldest. We have our 2 youngest children sleep in our bed, so they'd be right there. But my oldest sleeps on the far end of the house. I mean, it's really it's yeah. I guess there's much of a plan as you can have in place. Um, just kind of hard to plan for something you don't know many angles on. But yeah, I mean, I guess as much as you can have one, we have one. Yeah,
Well, it goes without saying, I hope that never does happen. So you have to find out how prepared you are in that event. I
yeah.
really hope it never does. Andres Kirizales has the next question. He wants to know, sorry to ask this, but were their hearts gone? I'm sure he's asking about your grandfather's 2 dogs.
I'm honestly not sure. I know they were partially eaten. Um, and I apologize. It's not something I'm gonna ask my grandpa or whatever. But I mean, it's a possibility. He told me they had eaten, so maybe.
Well, that is their MO. So, yeah, if the dogman did actually dispatch them, then there's a strong possibility that's the case. So, it's unfortunate. This next question is from Michigan Meat Eater, and he wants to know, did you feel as safe as you could in the tree, or do you think they can climb?
Well, no, 'cause I'm scared of heights. First of all, I'm terrified being up there. But no, I mean, it was kind of it was more so that he didn't see me. At first, and it was just kind of I guess it was like knowing that I had the drop on him essentially. Because man, I promise you, if I'd have had my 308, I don't know if one would have done the job or not, but I'd have put one right in the left side of his face or in left side of his head. But I mean, I'm a decent shot with a pistol. I mean, I'm well above average shot with a pistol, but 70 yards through brush and all that is just, that wasn't something I was willing to. I wasn't that comfortable. I'll say that, but being up might have given me a little bit of extra security. But no, I mean, I did. I thought to myself, um, excuse me, I thought to myself at some point that he's going to have to come up this tree, and when he does, he's going to be directly below me. And it's not a big bulky climber stand. I mean, it's like excuse me, it's like a I don't remember what brand it is. but it was I'd have had a good shot down the tree under me. He you know he'd have had to come straight from the ground directly to me and snatch me out or whatever he planned to do because him not having eyes on me and not winding me at first and having the drop on him is really what gave me my. There's no sense of security. Let me not say that. Let me not mislead anybody. It gave me as much of a sense of security as I could have had in that situation, I guess.
Yeah.
Mhm.
In a situation like that, you'll take any bit of confidence or feeling of security that you can get. So I'm glad you had some. Looks like Andres Carrizales has another question for you. He wants to know, Kim, did this attack seem malicious in nature?
Yeah, 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 man. Dude, I'm gonna be honest with you. It seemed like it was malicious since the first time. I mean, when I say that, man, this thing had my dog, man. He had him, like he had a hold of him. And this isn't something, you know, so he had bitten Dallas a couple of times. By the time I was up and standing and was fully conscious of where I was and what was going on and why I heard the noises that I was hearing, you don't realize how big this thing's claws are, right? Like he, Dallas couldn't have got, if he was, you know, if he was fully conscious and still full of fight, he still couldn't have gotten away. Like I mean, he had claws in him while he looked at me. And when I say that, he didn't open his mouth and use words. I didn't hear a voice in my head, but come on, boy, come here, boy, come here to me, come here, boy. That challenge, that goading. They're trying to goad me into, and now looking back, I did exactly what he wanted. I ran straight for him. That's exactly what he wanted me to do. And I don't really care, man. I'd die with my Bubba. I don't. Wouldn't have. I would never want to leave my kids, but man, in that moment there was one option, and it was to try to save my dog, man. But he was already gone, and I just didn't, I didn't realize that. But anyway, he was very well already gone, and he knew that. Not Dallas, but this thing, it knew that. But man, when he when he saw me this not past Friday, but whatever 2 Fridays ago, however long it was. No, man, when he turned and looked and saw, 'cause I'm telling you, it was the wind must have been at my back for like a couple of seconds because there's no way he winded me so fast as to I just felt the breeze behind me and he winded me because we were still oh 40 yards maybe, if that, probably more like 30. Um, but no, man, he looked up at me and showed me like he knew who I was. Dude, there's near human intelligence in these things. Like I'm not an expert or anything like that, but you know, I've I said this to Vic, it's in a weird way, but I've got way more experience with this thing or with these things in general than most people. I've got face to face experience with them, which not a lot of people can say. And when I tell you that, yeah, no, absolutely, there's no question that there's malice about it. I mean, yeah, he looked at me and showed me his teeth. I don't know if he was trying to get fear from me or that was just something he does instinctually. Maybe it probably is, maybe, but yeah, no, there's no lack of malice when it comes to me in this thing, apparently.
No, I'd say not, unfortunately. It looks like Sonia Vassallo has the next one up on deck. She wants to know, sorry if Cam mentioned this and I missed it, but what color were the Dogman's eyes?
Man, they're whatever's between yellow and amber, I guess. That people call it amber. Um, and it's they don't stand out as much in the daytime, obviously. So, but man, that first night when we saw him, that was creepy. I mean, his size and his posture and the way he moved was really what was the creepy part about it. And I knew what it was. Like, you know, I knew as soon as he stood up. I didn't even have like a complete and total visual on him yet. But that's what was creepy. But no, I guess I mean, amber's like a yellow brown, I guess. But I guess yellow would be the best word, the best. And I guess I saw less of them this past time around because it was, like I said, broad daylight. They don't shine as much, but I have seen them when they were at their most, whatever the illuminated, whatever the word is. But it's pretty close to yellow. That's the best one I can give you.
Yeah, you got too good of a look at them, unfortunately. Cody Laughing Wolf has the next question. Cody wants to know, well, it's actually a piece of advice. His message is, Cam, I feel for you. Be safe, but don't take this creature lightly. Sasha may be a sweetheart by comparison, but yours is indeed a monster.
Yeah. No, man, buddy, I won't. I promise. I said, if I was a single dude with no kids, that's not something I would ever take lightly. I'm glad your experiences don't go this way, and I hope and pray that they never do. Um, as a, I just don't. I don't know. It's confusing and unnerving, and if you're man, if your experiences with yours are pleasant, do whatever you can to keep it that way. Because I'll die before I take them lightly. I'd die if I did take them lightly, I guess. But hopefully, I'd say I'd be happy if he just up and left and was gone forever. And if there was some way I could know that he would never come back without him being dead. But at this point, man, it's really just not enough for me. Like I want to see him. I don't want him mounted and stuffed on my wall. I don't want to see him like that. But I want him dead. He's got to go. There's evil there, man. There's absolute evil there, and it's kind of it's kind of muddy water we're wading in right now because honestly, Tyler cast the first stone. If you really want to really want to break it down, split hairs and get technical, you know, we fired on him, but the dude had no business. I mean, he didn't have any business there. Like he didn't have. What business you have coming and trying to scare me? What business you have trying to elicit some kind of trying to feed on my fear or whatever, if that's true or whatever. I mean, you don't have any business coming around me or my family because I mean, God forbid if I'd have had my kids with me. Like what do you? I don't even. That's dude. I don't even think about that. But uh, I promise I will definitely have it. That's it all. Everything came to a head. I've not for 1 second taken it lightly. And I promise you that I will not. Um, moving forwards, but yeah, man. If you I got to look into your bit too. I'd like to know how your interactions with what you call it, Sasha. I'd like to know how those go. That must be nice to have non-violent interactions with one of these things, man. I wouldn't know.
I wish they could all be that way. I really do. And just to make a reminder, like I said at the top of the show, Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, Cody's going to be on to update us about his most recent experiences with Sasha. So I hope you can make it and listen to him do that. The next question for you is from David Daniels. And Dave wants to know, was he close enough to tell if his eyebrows are as expressive as dogs can be?
Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, there's near human intelligence with these. Like I've had dogs. I've had dogs that were crazy smart. Like most of the time, dogs understand the tone of your voice or a certain sound, or they associate a certain word with something that they like. Like when you say to a dog, "Hey, hey," What would you like to do today, Dallas? Would you be partial to maybe a cold cup of tea, or would you like a treat? And he hears treat, and it's like, oh yes, no, and you see that you get that reaction for him, whether he cocks his head or he barks or he cuts his eyes at you with his eyebrows like that. But no, I mean, it's deeper than that. It's absolutely deeper. I mean, they looked at me with this hateful, and it's so much different than a hateful look from a person would give you, because there's like, I'm not going to say there's human uh, features. I mean, obviously there are. He has hands, but I wouldn't even compare it to it. I mean, it's like staring down a big nightmarish hairy human that wants to kill you and eat you, or whatever. I mean, I wouldn't compare that to a dog. That's something that's innocent and pure, and kind of and elicits smiles from people when dogs cock their head or give you that facial expression. I definitely wouldn't compare it to
Yes, definitely apples and oranges. Bang Bang has the next one for you. She wants to know, Kim, did it smile?
that. No, he didn't smile. Man, I feel like he was smirking at me that like the first time, like while he was killing my dog. I feel like there was a smirk, like it was you know, it, I don't know. Not this time, no, because it was. I mean, it was anger and this, this animalistic determination that I'll get you. I just can't. I cannot stress that enough. I'll get you. Those 3 words. I'll get you. Those 3 words. Come here, boy. Like I just. I don't.
Oh, I'm sure tons of thoughts were going through your head about what it was thinking at the time and saying to itself. So I'm sure there have been other thoughts besides that as well. I don't doubt it. David Seal wants to know how tall the tree was that you're in when you had this experience.
Uh, uh, no idea. It's big. I mean, it's a big tree. It's not. I mean, it ain't big 100-year-old oak tree big or anything like that. It was small enough to fit a climber stand on comfortably. Where I had, I felt like I wasn't. I didn't have my. I probably had it on the. I was like one peg or so above the, or one peg or so from having it like fully extended. Uh, I couldn't tell you how tall the tree was. Plenty tall. I wasn't a third of the way up the tree as high as I was. Probably 100 feet tall. I don't know, maybe.
Well, that's still pretty darn tall. David Daniels wants to know, did it have any patterning on its fur?
Yeah. No, man. He's dark gunmetal gray. Like not black, but there's. I mean, he's probably dirty a little bit too, but no, he's dark gray, man. Just straight up, as plain Jane as you can be, dark gray. Like there's no. I mean, I got a good look at him this time. There's no mistaking. There's no. It's not nighttime this time. No, broad daylight. The dude is exactly the way I remember him. Just I say plain. There's no plain to it. It's just the flat color.
You got too good of a look. Baby girl wants to know, was he very muscular?
Yeah, it's more like a lean muscle though. Like I said, I've heard a lot of people say like, man, this thing looks like a bodybuilder. Or like I had, man, there. I didn't see abs. I mean, I'm sure he obviously has abdominal muscles, but you can't really. There's no distinguished pectoral muscles or abdominal muscles or anything, but his shoulders are big. Like I sent I sent Vic a screenshot of I don't remember what it was. It was from, it's like the thumbnail from one of his episodes, and I don't remember which one it was or what it said, but the picture in it is, I mean, that it's shoulders are slightly larger than what that picture was. And that's about it. I mean, it looks just like him. Like it's almost like somebody was there and took that picture, you know. But yeah, he wasn't. I mean, he wasn't buff. Like so, like I hear some accounts of these things being. But I mean, yeah, he's a wild animal. As muscular as he needs to be.
That picture, I'm looking for the episode number right now.
I
From
remember it said the caption says, "When I talk about them, they come around."
That's right. Yeah, episode 535.
Yeah, yeah. Which
That's the one.
I just saw the thumbnail and it was kind of like not deja vu, but you know that's I mean that's it. Like that is all but it. I mean his ears aren't long and pointy. I mean everything pretty much from what I can tell, and because it's not like a full picture where it stands up and you know you get a view like I got of this thing, but that's it. I mean, if I had to say that this one is the closest I've ever seen, that takes it.
Got another question for you. I don't really know what her name is. It's Symbols, but she wants to know, why don't you call the Fish and Wildlife, who will in turn tell you it's a bear, of course, but they will also call the federal, who will, I think she means federal authorities, who will come eradicate it. Well, they might and they might not. Odds are they won't eradicate it, and all he would be doing is bringing trouble down on himself. So definitely recommend against doing that. Would not recommend that at all. This next one is from Liz M, and she wants to know, so this one looked like a hyena from the first encounter. Well, this was the Dogman from the first encounter. So, yes, definitely. The next one is from David Z34, and Dave wants to know, how much fur did it have on the shoulder and face area?
Shoulder. I mean, his shoulders completely covered in fur. Like, I mean, you can tell. The only reason I can tell his shoulders are bigger is because they kind of bulge out a little. Not like huge bulging cannonball shoulders, but I mean, he's big and he's massive. I mean, I forget how big. The only gauge I really have of how you know, other than just seeing him and having eyes on him, of how big he is, was the tree that he walked out towards while me and Tyler, you know, the first time we ever saw him, first time we ever laid eyes on him, there's this big old branch that hangs, and I had a measurement on it. I forget how tall it was, but I mean, he was like, I'm not gonna say that they walked hunched over, but on 2 feet, they're never just standing straight up with their back straight with good posture. But I mean, he's huge, dude. He's a freaking monster, and you know, I mean, his face says, what does it say? How much hair was on his face? I mean, I don't know, like a dog's face. It's not. It's not like I said. It's not like in like I've heard some other people describe. Like some people's descriptions say, uh, you know, you like there's almost no hair on their chest or abdomen. That's not the case at all. Like he's hairy. He's like a dog. I mean, pretty as well as I can describe it. I don't there seem to be any lack of hair anywhere on him. There was a lack of a tail. He doesn't have a tail. I know that much. I was pretty sure of that the first time he turned and ran, and I saw his hindquarters. And I can tell you, there's no tail on him. And I keep saying him. I don't see genitalia either, but you know, I get the sense that this thing is a male because there's this real sense of clash or whatever between us, which whatever. Oh,
I think you're right. Yeah, I bet good money it is a male from his actions and all his behavior. This next one is from Michigan Meat Eater. He wants to know, have you or your grandpa gotten anything like trail cam pics, tracks, etc.?
not a single one. Not a single one. So the whole thing with and I'll be honest with you, man, if I did have them, I wouldn't show them to anybody. It's you know, that's I don't know if Vic wanted a picture, if I had one, I'd send it to him. I imagine, but no. So where he was, it's hard to explain this for somebody that hadn't seen his property. So from the direction he was coming from, He was in the spot where, if you heard the account of what happened the first time, when we first see him, we didn't realize we were seeing him. Didn't realize what it was. We thought it was a big deer or two hogs standing next to each other or something, because he was down and there's no change in my mind about it. At first, Tyler looks down through his scope and he's like, man, there's something down there. I can't tell what it is, but it's big. Anyway, it's him. That thing was probably 15 feet out of view of the camera that was down there, because there is a camera down there. But and I could be wrong about this, but if he stalks that pine tree forest, right, which would kind of explain why he was there that night and why he was able to, why it's just to explain why he was there if he stalks that pine tree forest, because there's a lot of big deer in there, which means a lot of big food sources. Makes sense. But uh, he, I'm sorry, I was reading this and got sidetracked. Somebody said that's just like the one I've seen. Well, I hope you haven't seen one at all. I feel for you if you have. But I'm sorry, what was the question? I completely lost my train of thought reading that.
Oh, that's all right. I lost my train of thought too when you mentioned Tiffany's comment. Tiffany is an eyewitness who's had multiple encounters. So, yeah, I mean, she's going to be on this upcoming Friday show where she's going to talk about some of the experiences that she's had. It's an update show. She's already been on the show. She's going to talk about an encounter she had where, unfortunately, two dogmen were fighting just feet away from her out in her woods. So, yeah, she knows what you're going through with the unfortunate things you've experienced. Not to interrupt you, I apologize. If you're not sure what the question was, then I can throw the next one at you.
No, go ahead. I don't know if I answered or not. I mean, if they have a question, I want to answer it.
If I remember correctly, I think you did answer it.
Oh, okay.
I think you did. The next one is from David Daniels. He wants to know, or it's a comment. I can't imagine the anger you're feeling from losing the dogs. How do you control yourself?
Well, I mean, if you call me controlling myself, I mean, I guess because I have kids, man. I can't just clock out. I can't just go and recklessly throw myself into some mindless pursuit of this monster that killed my dog. Though I'd love for him to be dead at my feet. You know, and I'm not an evil or malicious person. I'm not. It's just he's taken so much from me and doesn't even know it. He's not even aware of it. Like he's, tax free for him that he killed. Well, not really, because I guess he's been shot several times. But he didn't dwell on that. It's not something that bothers him. It bothers me that my dog's gone. It bothers me that my kids can't go outside. That I can't allow them to go outside by themselves. But that's man, they're the only thing, man. The only thing that keeps me from. I mean, dude, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. If I didn't have kids, I'd have at some point I'd have gone looking for him to an extent far greater than I have. Like I said, I went after deer season was over, hunt season period, deer, duck, and all that was over last year, and I went and sat in my stand by myself. By myself, I did not take Tyler. I didn't tell my grandpa I was going. Nothing. Like I would pull my barn past the. I mean, I was pull my barn. I would pull my truck past the barn so my grandpa wouldn't know that I was sitting out there. Because I know he'd came out there with me, and that's I cannot be responsible for him being in the line of fire if anything was would happen. But no, man, just knowing that I guess if we call it restraint, I got kids to come home to, man, and it's I just if I'm not here, who protects them from things like that? I mean, I don't have Dallas anymore. I don't have a dog that's made of gold that I know would give his life to protect me or my kids anymore. It's just me. So I guess really that's about it, man.
I'm so sorry it's that way also. I really am. Shamborzi has the next question. They want to know, Cam, if you tried to rebuke it in Jesus' name.
Well, you know, this isn't something I go too far into, but I'm not religious anymore. I haven't been in years. I tried to be. I grew up that way. Was, I lied to myself for several years, telling myself I still was, and I was still a believer, and I still this, and I still that. And yeah, my family kind of clutched their pearls at me when they realized that I couldn't make myself believe anymore. Like it was a choice I had, and I didn't believe anymore. I couldn't make myself do it. So no, I haven't. Uh, I haven't done that. I have not. Um, but if there's a God and he were to show up and clear this one up for me, you know, I'd yeah, I'd rebuke anything in his name, to be honest. But no, I have not.
All right, I've got the second to last question for you. It's from Tiffany, and Tiffany wants to know, have you ever thought about going out on your property or grandfather's and just talking out loud, a truce, just for you and your family's sake? It's worth a shot. I'm praying for you and your family, Kim. You know what, Tiffany? That's one of the frustrating things about this. That's one of the reasons why I was laying in bed the night that Kim and I had that conversation about what's been going on recently, about this recent encounter. Unfortunately, that wouldn't work. That's advice I gave you in your situation, but that wouldn't work in his situation because this is a dog man that's been shot twice in two different encounters, is what I'm getting at. The first time around, Tyler shot the dog man, and well, Kim did too, but that happened when the first encounter took place. Another encounter happened and it was shot again. So, yeah, there's no going back. There's no truce or anything like that with this thing. It's not going to stand down for that reason because Cam goes out and asks for it to. It's going to stand down because it just decides to stand down if that's the case, if it actually does that. So, yeah, that's one of the reasons why this is so frustrating for me. It's just a frustrating no-win situation. At every turn, when I was thinking about options, every option I could think up was just a no-go. So that's why it's so difficult. The next question is the last one of the night. It's from Shannon Umanezer, and Shannon wants to know, are you still upset at your friend for taking the first shot?
No, no. We man, like, and that was a trivial thing. At points I would go and say, well, if Tyler hadn't done it, we wouldn't be here. If this or that. But think about it. Just think about it, right? I didn't I didn't find Vic's channel until after all this had happened. I probably still wouldn't have told anybody this story if I hadn't have found Vic's channel. But that being said, you know, we're here. We're talking about Dogman right now, right? This is the topic of conversation. So this is something that's on our minds. We're consciously aware of it. We're thinking of it. Just imagine you're not oblivious because, like I said, when the dude stood up, I knew exactly what I was seeing. Like there was no, it was still like like oh my god. But there's no doubt I knew what I was looking at. But imagine being somebody who didn't think that, and you see this, like Tyler, like Tyler. Tyler didn't know what we were looking at, right? Like I you know, that I guess he knew, but that's not something that you're prepared to see or have a run in with, or God forbid, have it standing so close to you, staring at. I mean, man, that thing looked like it, like we were pieces of meat. There's no there's no humanity in those eyes. There's no you don't look in there and see something that you could communicate with. You don't. Man, those eyes they're not black. They're this weirdly yellowish amberish color that's eerie as hell, and it grows on it. I mean, glows on its own. I mean, it's got to be almost 8 feet tall, between 7 and 8 feet tall. Big, long arms with hands on the end of big claws, big teeth, dog-like leg. Like his legs are cut. That's you know, in movies as a kid, that's what scared me. Not scared me. I mean, it was the whole thing that scared me, but those feet, those backward, those haunches, or whatever you want to hawk. What do you want to call them? That is really what what creeped me out. But imagine being a person who doesn't listen to Dogman radio, who's just out hunting with your friend, and all of a sudden you are looking at a literal monster. What would you do? You know, you've got a gun. What would you do? And you can say, "Oh, well, I wouldn't shoot because it wouldn't mean harm unless." Yeah, Howard doesn't watch Dogman Encounters radio. Howard did what he thought he needed to do to keep us safe. And whether he was right or wrong, it's not really a moral question. It's a you'd have to ask somebody who knows about dogmen to have somebody answer that question. Like Tyler wasn't prepared for that. I wasn't prepared for that, and like I said, I mean, it's just it's no. I'm definitely not mad at Tyler because even if that thing wouldn't have harmed us, even if it played out to where, yeah, he could have not shot it and we could have walked out of there, and I'd have still had my dog. And man, yeah, that'd be lovely. That would be lovely, but I would still be here in this same frame of mind of I can never bring my kids out here again. This thing there's a literal monster hanging around my grandparents' house in this place where I've run barefoot as a child until I got old enough to have a dirt bike and a go-kart. And, me and my dogs were out here. I mean, it was just, that thing had no place there. None. Like his presence was completely and totally unwarranted, unwanted, and just unwelcome. Like that thing is not, he is, it may not seem like it. And I'm not bragging on myself, but he's just as unsafe around me as I am around him. And I'm not going to blame Tyler for that. He reacted as Tyler's not the panicky type. He was afraid, yeah, but I'm telling you, man, Tyler's one of those people. When we're at work and something needs to get done fast, and there's like a rush to do it, Tyler performs under pressure. Like that's why we're friends. We have that about each other, like But no, I'm not going to fault Tyler for doing. I mean, if you see a monster and you feel like you have the ability to kill it, would you? As a normal person, if you cut your experiences on Dogman Radio out and say you'd never heard of it before, if you were standing there in that field, in that pasture, in our positions, what would you do? I guess that's my answer to the question is a question.
Kim, it's like this. Do I wish Tyler never would have pulled the trigger on that Dogman when you had that first encounter? Yes, definitely. Do I think that Dallas would still be here if Tyler wouldn't have shot that Dogman when you had that first encounter? Yes, I do think Dallas would be here. I do totally understand why he shot the Dogman. I wish you wouldn't have done it, but I understand it. It's all too easy to sit here and armchair quarterback this from the comfort of your own home when you're not out there with the thing. Of course, it was a distance from you too, but it's all too easy after the fact to armchair quarterback this. But what's done is done. That's water under the bridge. There's no going back and changing that. When you had the second encounter, you shot it. I don't blame you. I don't blame you for shooting a Dogman, the Dogman, that had already been shot by both you and Tyler on the previous encounter, or in the previous encounter, I should say. You had already shot it, and with that in mind, you saw that Dogman start walking towards you. Well, you had a history with that thing, and a bad one too. So you had every reason to believe that it was coming for you to take your life. Because at one point during that first encounter, it gave every indication it was about to take your life when it was standing above you when you woke up. And
Oh,
Dallas jumped in and saved you. So, yeah, when you had that second encounter, I wish the situation would have been laid out so that you had to fire on it. But I mean, you weren't in control of that. It decided to approach you, to walk towards you. And when it did, I normally tell people only shoot a dog, man, if you're convinced you're going to die anyway. Well, in your situation, I don't blame you at all for shooting it that time.
yeah.
But
But,
yeah,
but when I'm so the first, I guess I guess what I was wrong. What I was going to say. I was going to say, well, why did it come for me? When he flanked us, right? When he tackled us, or when he tackled me, I guess he hit all of us. I was just the impact block that actually took the force, you know. But he came after me, and I was going to say, why would he do that? Tyler shot it. I shot him too, but I guess that didn't make any sense. I was going to ask a question I've already got the answer to, but yeah, I absolutely, um, you know, if I hadn't, this is a couple weeks ago, man. If I hadn't have shot him, I wouldn't be here telling y'all this. Y'all would have never heard another thing from me ever. I'd have just been, Cam from whatever episode I was on, and if any, I don't even know if anybody else would have ever thought about me again or wondered, hey, I wonder what happened to that guy, or whatever. But yeah, no, I definitely didn't have a choice the second time. I guess the first time we did, and I was on the way to, I did, it was, I swear on my life, it was coming out of my mouth. No, don't. And he, he let one rip. I mean, I can't blame him. But no, yeah, and you are right. I want nothing more than to believe that you are right. That maybe I'd still have my dog, or something if that hadn't happened. But water under the bridge, as you said, and you know, take it in stride as it comes from here on out.
that's right. Yeah, that is water under the bridge. There's no going back and changing that. All you can do is just focus on what's before you and just do the best you can with the life you have. And that's all there is to it. Well, Kim, like I told you before, I can't thank you enough for coming back on to update us. I hope that was the last experience you ever have with one of these guys, most notably that one. But if anything ever does happen in the future, by all means, please let me know. If I can help you somehow, some way, I definitely will. So please keep that in mind.
And you'll be the first person to get the story itself. So, and I hope I never have one to give. Would love a reason to talk to you again, because man, it's always a pleasure. But I hope I don't ever have to call you with something like this again.
Well, that makes two of us. Yeah, I hope you never do also. And of course, it's always great talking with you, but just not about things like this because no one should have to go through this. You really shouldn't. But having said that, thanks again so much for your time and hope you have a great weekend.
Awesome, thanks, Dick. I appreciate your time, brother.
You're welcome. We'll see you. Well, everyone, thanks again so much for tuning in and for supporting these eyewitnesses the way you do. Like I've said countless times, you'll never know how much of a difference it makes in their lives. It really does help tremendously. And for that, I can't thank you enough. Just one last reminder on Tuesday night, if you didn't hear before, there's going to be a special bonus show where Cody's going to come on and talk about his most recent experiences with Sasha, the female dog woman that has been paying him visits. It's a case of this dog woman lives around his property and almost on a nightly basis. If he doesn't see her, then she does things to let him know that she's around. And after that, next Friday, like I said, Tiffany's going to come back on and she's going to talk about her most recent experiences. And she's going to have her daughter, her 10-year-old daughter with her. Her daughter had a very unfortunate experience that involved their dog, them losing their dog in a very traumatic way, very unfortunate way. I don't know if you notice a pattern here, unfortunately, but They'll both be here Friday night, like I said, to talk about that experience. And Tiffany is going to talk about that experience I mentioned earlier, where those two dogmen were fighting just feet from her. So, of course, we hope you tune in for next Friday's show as well. But before we get out of here, if you've had a dogman encounter, a dogman sighting, I should say, that you'd like to speak with me about, to get help with, or if you'd like to come on the show and be a guest, please go to dogmanencounters.com, submit a report, and if you do that, I'll be more than happy to schedule a conversation with you so we can find out about your encounter and have a good talk about it. But having said that, thanks again so much for listening, and have a great night.